Hello, I'm Dr. Bond, and welcome to the Bond Report. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to deal with a somewhat more intermediate Grand Rounds ploy called the Procrustean Ploy. And we walk through that. This is a more advanced move. We begin with a good beginning Grand Round strategy is the blunt instrument all-purpose differential. Simple, powerful, difficult to counter, and basically it consists at root of the same tired, shop-worn differential list forcibly applied to all cases whatever. You're the faculty guy that sits in the Grand Rounds and you've always got the same idea and you've always got your same differential for any case whatever. And you apply it, and I will show examples. An interesting variant of the strategy that I had the good fortune to witness very early on in my training is even more radical in its philosophy, but its application is virtually the same. It consists of the same answer to any given question, to any given case. The same answer is used in any situation over a period of years. Not just a mere differential, but one and the same diagnosis is brought up in all cases. Its proper name is the Procrustean Ploy, and I saw it done by its great master. I always fondly think of it as the Saunders Ploy after its most brilliant exponent, its pioneer and developer, Dr. R. Saunders of New Orleans. And the ploy is best illustrated by example. Now, Procrustes comes from this. Procrustes is, of course, the demonic innkeeper of Greek mythology who had one bed. He had the Procrustean bed that you'll read about occasionally. And basically, you were going to fit in that one bed or they were going to make you fit it. The traveler had to fit it as per the illustration. They're going to rack you to make you a little taller, pull the joints out, or they're going to help you with the length of your extremities with more extreme methods. That is the Procrustean bed, and that's the ploy. Everything is going to fit in the Procrustean bed, hence the name of the ploy. Now, Saunders' great favorite was a diagnosis called reticulum cell sarcoma. The answer to any question whatever would be a pause to simulate thought. It would invariably be followed by, in this kind of thing, whatever the thing was, you never want to forget that reticulum cell sarcoma. Occasionally, you should always have reticulum cell sarcoma somewhere in the back of your mind. Never want to forget that pesky reticulum cell sarcoma. Should that be entirely out of your mind, he would expound at any desired, that is, his desire, length on the appearance, recognition, diagnosis, treatment of reticulum cell sarcoma, no matter whether the actual case presentation was anything from going to the front to the back, corneal abrasion to occipital stroke. You never want to forget that reticulum cell sarcoma. Reliable. Reticulum cell sarcoma is one of those things that every ophthalmologist has heard of at least once, however vaguely, kind of some little noise off in the distance, but very, very few know anything about it. It's quite rare to the point where probably non-existent. But it sounds like something you should know about. And the very word sarcoma is a serious word. Carcinoma is epithelial tissues. Sarcoma is the cancer of the non-epithelial tissues. These are not words to be used lightly or toyed with. So the word sarcoma is an attention getter. So almost every ophthalmologist would never want to miss it. I, to this day, for the next 43 years in practice, I would actually think about, could this be some presentation of reticulum cell sarcoma? Swear to God. But has no real idea what it looks like, no real idea how it presents, what to do about it if you got it. That would be a timely referral. But would sooner, in a Grand Rounds place, die right there on the spot and publicly reveal your appalling and complete ignorance of this matter, so clearly serious and important. This is sarcoma. You're not up to date on it. You would never want to do that, my God, in front of the residents. And this would be mostly the faculty guys. that just don't want to get shown up in front of these people. And even reticulum cell, no one really remembers from their medical school histology exactly what a reticulum cell was, or in my case, these subtle reminders of forgotten histology from med school. Roses are red, cancers are blue. It's the way they dye them to get it in a microscope. And this kind of has in the back of your mind reflecting on how much you've forgotten these vast amounts of your rote education that you learned in med school. And you're sort of easing down into a passive state by the fact, boy, I've sure forgotten a lot. I wish I knew this. Don't call on me. And so this combination of perceived gravity met with ignorance, that is a powerful mix for the intimidation of a professional audience. And the master roundsman picture a guy walking back and forth in front of a small crowd in an auditorium, could hold forth at more or less any length. You have no real fear of contradiction. No one knows exactly what you mean, though they think they ought to. So no one is going to venture a comment. And everybody is just going to wait quietly for the whole thing to be over, in fear of being asked a question themselves, in the manner of people waiting out a severe storm. Well, I hope it's over soon. There's nothing much I can do about it. God, I hope it doesn't come for me. Now, the ploy has the admitted drawback of actually requiring some genuine work and study to accumulate the necessary facts about, in this case, reticulum cell sarcoma. And the roundsman must console himself with the idea that learning a lot about this one obscure thing is easier to fully master the entire field of ophthalmology. Cold comfort, but there it is, So it has that drawback. But to me, to watch this as a young trainee was a very instructive thing. Nobody ever knew the first thing about it, and absolutely no one in this audience of chest beaters wanted to be asked his opinion, a rare thing indeed, or God forbid get called on to come up to the podium and expound or pontificate, and to watch a row of these big egos. Normally these pridefulness of peacocks on parade, eager to display put their knowledge in the shop window, as the Brits would say. To watch them there's sort of a posture where you sort of close off and go into your own, and it's as if physiologically people want to get smaller in the physiologic kind of Darwinian hope that you're a smaller target or something. And to watch these guys do that, in fact, I thought about a medical phenomenon there where you can actually watch people contract, and the footnote would term this biological phenomenon implosion. It's like the guts want to make themselves, or the actual tissue wants to make itself smaller. It was a very instructive thing for a resident, a young guy, to watch. And it's one of the great spectacles I ever witnessed, and he would do it time and again. And Saunders, bless his heart, he could deliver that every single time. And in the manner of Dean Martin singing That's Amore, as I wrote this talk, I can't think about that without smiling. It was wonderful. And I repeatedly got to see the master, the developer of this ploy, do this himself many times, and I was privileged, and it was a treat. Organized roundsmanship to this day has no known counter to the Procrustean Ploy. The only thing you do is wait it out in the manner that people shelter in their basements during a tornado. You hope everything will be okay. But even if you hear your house being ripped apart, you stay right where you are. There's nothing you can do. Wait for it to be over before you go up and check on damage. All there is trouble out there. You don't go up. You hope that you're not killed or injured, and you stay right where you are and try and make yourself small to hope it doesn't find you. And to watch Saunders himself, with that single-mindedness for which he was so justly famous, drone on about reticulum cell sarcoma, what you needed to understand, no matter what the presented case was one of the great inspirations behind me adopting roundsmanship. And I can only hope others can find their own epiphany, as I did, at that impressionable stage in your journey of your life. It was uplifting. And I'm put into a nostalgic reverie by this. I myself was a resident man in New Orleans, and we had joint grand rounds. And to watch a natural genius produce one tour de force after another like this was deeply inspiring. It was the very essence of roundsmanship. It was my great good fortune to be able to witness it in person many times. Nobody ever called him on it. This was a group that would call you on more or less anything. Nobody ever called him on it. At this juncture in my life, I'm fairly certain that reticulum cell sarcoma does not even exist. Now, these were the days before the internet, when you were wising up about something didn't mean it would take some significant effort, particularly to prove a negative, which is much harder than proving a positive. And it wasn't a matter of just pushing a button or asking a speaker where you ran into, where can you find the web reference to that. No one ever actually really checked and did that. And if I know my Saunders, he would have anticipated that and have back up some obscure, probably non-existent reference. So no matter how much effort you made, you couldn't be entirely sure it didn't exist. And rather than going to that trouble in your busy life, you just went in your basement when the tornado came, and that was it. But this puts me in mind there, in those early formative days, this might be called the New Orleans School of Roundsmanship, and I was profoundly influenced. We had joint grand rounds with Tulane, who to this day I call the Greenies in my mind. In Oxnard, we had joint grand rounds with the other two teaching programs. And we also had the townies come in, and they would attend this. And, it was a big deal and a formal thing. And to watch these guys, it's like a bunch of mafiosi come in there in groups. They really don't like each other, and they never want to tell you that. That was instructive too. And the proximity of these large, mutually hostile I-residencies, their mutual antipathy at higher and lower levels, their lame, half-hearted attempts at cooperation that you'd see on cases, their strained, transparent efforts at courtesy to each other, the forced and hollow bonhomie that the locals provided, and the referring guys, because they wanted to be nice to those guys, but like all academic guys, they had their own little opinions. This was unlimited examples of the roundsmanship art for observation and study, and unlimited scope for honing the craft. And I was only fortunate to be able to witness it and find it inspirational. Thank you very much.